Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 893. Now, in today's episode, we're going into a bit of a controversial subject, and I want you to stay with me because we're going to be going like a deep dive into how positive affirmations can actually create far greater pain and conflict in your life, which you wouldn't think. So it's very counterintuitive. But on top of that, what to do instead. That is our plan today in this episode. So first of all, what is a positive affirmation? It's usually an affirmation that is positive about ourselves or about the world. So it could be saying things like, I am worthy today, I am deserving, I am good enough, or good things come to me, but the world's a lovely place and I'm being rewarded in abundance and opportunity. I can get that job, I can get that career, I can have that kind of relationship because I'm worthy and deserving of it. So we come up with these statements that if we say with enough consistency and even probably more importantly with enough conviction, we hope for the unconscious mind to assume it to be true. But like all things, beliefs will override words. You see, if you have a stronger unconscious belief, which is in the opposite of that positive statement, your unconscious mind will negate the statement, and on top of that, it will feel more conflicted. It's almost like you're having two messages in your head. On the one hand, you're going, I'm great, I'm worthy of success, and I want all these wonderful things. But then on the other hand, your unconscious mind's going, no, I don't. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. Who are you to have all these things? I mean, for example, even if you personally say you had the belief of not being good enough and your best friend or your family member said those positive affirmations to you every day, would you take them on to be true? I don't think so. In fact, I'm sure a lot of people in your life may be saying good things about you, saying that, look, you shouldn't be anxious, you shouldn't be worried, like your life's pretty good, you have all these wonderful qualities. But even those, their positive affirmations, you will reflect them or redirect them out to not yourself and actually ignore it, dismiss it. So what goes to be so different? It'll be slightly different, but what's so different about you just saying those words? It's like you're saying the words, but you don't believe the words. I'm going to say that again. You're going to be saying the positive words, but you won't believe in those. Because your unconscious mind is running that belief system, which is the opposite of the affirmation. So for example, if you are going, let's go down a different route around this when it comes to the topic that you would choose as an affirmation. Say, I want money. I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a billionaire, I want to be abundant, I want to be able to just receive the riches of the world, and I want to be able to do all those things for good, of course. I want to help my community. But even if you affirm those, but in your reality, it is not there. And more than that, you have data, and that data is your past experience. You will negate that positive affirmation. Right? Because a word is not as much as evidence, right? You've got all this, probably for most of you, I mean, there's based on all the people I speak to, whether it be on email, my clients and seminars, most of us have had about almost a lifetime of data, experience, significant emotional events, real evidence. So if you've had your issue since you were 4, 5, 6 years old, or 12 years old, or even 20 years old, if you've had years of data and evidence, which is the opposite of that affirmation, which one do you think is going to win? Well, it's going to be the evidence, right? And that, though, is the key to our success. Because but before we get to the key to the success, let me paint a picture for you. Let's just say, and I've said this before, but it's really, really important. to really get into your mind, so it'll just resonate with you. If you have your home, like wherever you're renting or wherever you own a home, and you're in your living room, and then one day you notice some mold in the corner of your living room. And you think nothing of it too much in the beginning, but it starts to obviously grow. Now, you probably know how toxic mold can be. Like for the respiratory system, it can be really, really bad. There's so many more studies into what mold can do to really have an effect on your ability, your immunity ultimately, or your immune system. Now, if you had that mold there, what is your course of action? On the one hand, would you simply paint over that mold? Would you wallpaper over that mold? Of course, right? That's the quickest, easiest thing to do. But you'd be like, no, of course you wouldn't do that. Because why? The mold is still there. So just by wallpapering over the mold or painting over the mold, you're still going to have mold there. It may look prettier. It may look cleaner, but deep down you will know that that is still mold there, because you know it's still there. It might look different, but you know that it's there. So why is that as a metaphor important? Well, now let's just see. The paint or the wallpaper is the affirmation. The mold is the conflict of like a core limiting belief, like I am not good enough. Now, you can try to paint over that core limiting belief with positive affirmations, or paint over that core limiting belief, that hidden unconscious limiting belief. And it could be something like, I'm not worthy, deserving, or good enough, or money's bad, or whatever it is for you. That paint of affirmation, that wallpaper of affirmation, is it going to let go of the mold of the core issue? Absolutely not. So if we go back to that metaphor, what would you do? Well, number one, you'd probably want to go to the source of the mold. You'd want to be able to get to the bottom of it. You want to be able to get behind, where is it really coming from? That is the root of the mold, right? Because then when you let go of the root of that mold, what would you do? You'd paint over it. That is where the positive affirmations work. Great positive affirmations work when you are clean and clear of conflict, because then you're just reinforcing the purity of wholeness, of being whole, of knowing your worth and not knowing you're deserving. But if you keep on affirming positive self-affirmations, despite all this data of the past, these significant emotional events, which is kind of led you to the belief of, say, I am not good enough, or money is a bad thing, or relationships aren't worth my time because they'll just hurt me, that all men or all women cheat. Like, you can keep on affirming the opposite of that, but if you've got this experience which disproves it unconsciously, the problem is you're going to feel more disillusional. Why? Because now you've got this expansion of the core and the positive affirmation. Because when the positive affirmation doesn't work, what does that make you feel like? It makes you feel like a failure. You take it on personally. You go, well, it didn't work, so it must mean I'm broken. It must mean I'm never going to be fixed. So that is the real big problem when it comes to affirmations. So how do we begin to solve this, as I was saying? We'll change affirmation to confirmation. You, of course, I always say this, you want to be able to discover the hidden root cause. It is my huge main philosophy of all transformation in real quick, powerful time. By not working on the symptom, the mold in this case, you go ahead and diagnose the root cause of the issue. What's behind the wall which is creating the mold? Once you solve that, like I said, affirmations are perfect, they're beautiful, they're wonderful, they're reaffirming. Think about it. Affirmation, you're affirming something, but if you don't have the right foundations, it's hard to affirm a belief of not being good enough. It's easier to affirm the belief knowing you are good enough. So number one, yes, do a deep dive on what is your unconscious root cause. Get help with that. Seek out an expert and get an expert to, and the reason why I say that, whether you work with me or not, I don't really care. I mean, I'd love you to work with me, but look, I only work with a certain kind of individual, and you may not want to work with me, which is totally cool as well. I know who I'd like to work with, but either way, do your very best to work with someone that gets out of your way. That means you don't get caught up in that belief system. You don't get caught in your own delusional beliefs of I am not good enough or whatever it may be for you. So anyway, putting that to one side, it's up to you what you do about finding the root cause. How can we start to either make a dent in it if you're going to do this by yourself, or how do we just change the idea of an affirmation to one which is more positive? And as I said, it's about confirmation. The confirmation is looking, if you think about how did you come up to the conclusion of that core belief? You got this data and evidence. Well, the confirmations we're looking for is looking for new data and new evidence, which will prove that you are enough, that you are worthy or deserving and good enough. If you are switching your thought set, like you're doing almost like the reverse anxiety. Anxiety is focused on everything which could go wrong, where we want to switch to what could go right. Now we're going deeper into the belief system of what is good about us. What did you do today which was good? Forget about what was bad. We can learn from that. But what about today that you did good? What have you done this week which was good? Look for that confirmation, because that's real evidence. That's real data that you cannot deny, right? Because you've done it. You've experienced it. You want to be able to go on a mission in finding the confirmations that will disprove that core limiting belief. Not just words of affirmation, because we know that they don't really resonate. It makes us just feeling worse. You want to be able to find the evidence of where you are enough or where relationships are good. For example, if you had that limited belief that all relationships are unsafe, always bad, well, I would go on a mission of looking for every evidence of a good relationship. I would look for every evidence of whether I know the person or whether I research online, and then I want to go deeper and I want to look for, well, what were the values, what were the traits in that relationship or these relationships that I can start to apply within myself. Or if it's about esteem in relationships, well, I want to go on a deep dive in finding the confirmations of my qualities. What would my dog, because I have a dog and a cat, what would my dog and cat think of me? Like, what would they think positive things of me? Would they kind of say nice things to me if they could? All the things that I do for them? Probably gonna get a ton of confirmation even if I were to hallucinate it. I can think of my mom, my dad, my brothers, my friends, my colleagues and things like that. I can look at least through their own eyes and look for what their confirmations would be, and then I would look to see where I've actually fulfilled that idea that they have of me in reality. That means I will start to believe in it more, because not only is someone else is saying it, but now I'm passing it through to look for where I actually did it. And of course, we've got all this data for our life. So yes, you've got lots of data and evidence of all that is bad, which proves to you that you're not enough, but there's going to be other evidence available, but you've been deleting, distorting, and generalizing, which has just missed all the good stuff. But now you've got to make it your mission to look for the confirmations, what is good. What are the confirmations which is good that is coming your way? That's going to override any affirmation, positive affirmation. Now, of course, my hypnosis sessions do have positive affirmations in it. Like I said, they're not bad. They can just create conflicts. They can make things worse. But if you utilize them right, and especially with my work, I go rather suggestion-based. I go for learning-based. Getting the unconscious mind to learn. Once it has the learnings, we go to applied behaviors, beliefs, resources, and then the affirmations take place. So I'm trying to get the unconscious mind to have a new safety mechanism. So where can you look for alternative strategies, those confirmations which will keep you safe without the issue? So as a quick recap, positive affirmations is like trying to paint over mold. You need to, number one, let go of the mold, and then the affirmations will work, because that means you're clean and clear and whole. And number two, look for the confirmations. And this actually came about my last group coaching call in my program. We had a discussion about this because it's really, really important. If you can look for all the qualities, the confirmations of those qualities, the confirmations of those experiences where everything's been good and great, where you've achieved certain things, it's going to kind of give you more evidence to the contrary of that limiting belief or whatever conflict you're working on. If we go down the money route, if you say the world is all, what would you say, like the root of all money is evil, then look for the evidence where it's not evil. Look for the evidence of what you would do. That's the confirmation we're after. Because how can a belief exist if you find absolute concrete evidence of the opposite? At the very least, even if you've got to do some deep work on it, at the very least, you are breaking that belief, or you're adapting it. It's almost like, as another analogy and metaphor, you got a bucket of water. That is your belief system. The bucket is almost like you, the container. The water is the content of how you experience life. So that would be your beliefs, your values, your memories, your attitudes, your personality types, all those deeper things in psychology. Well, if you can look for opposite evidence, you're almost like getting this bucket to get a bit leaky, like it's emptying some of the water out. You're kind of breaking it a little bit. And therefore, it won't hold as much water, that belief system or that mindset. And if it holds less water, it's easier to break down. Rather than being this big one thing, or all these things, you're putting it down into a specific thing, or you're undistorting, you're undeleting, you're degeneralizing, whatever the opposites of those would be. You would start to break it down by finding as much evidence in the contrary. Now, of course, like I said, look, I'd ideally get you to work with someone. For sure, you can go ahead and apply to work with me, but of course, as I always say, look, you got to be ready to change. You got to be invested to change. This is a fully customized program, and you can go to josephclough.info/talk, where you fill out an application form, and then you go ahead and have a one-to-one call with us, and then we may kind of invite you into the program. Like I said, you got to go all in, all out on yourself to make the change of a lifetime. Do the work, as I always say. So that's josephclough.info/talk. But once again, positive affirmations are good in a way, but they really are good when you are whole of, like just a whole without the issue. The problem with positive affirmations is when you're trying to layer them on a deep limiting belief or all this evidence, it's going to make you feel worse. It's going to make you get angry. It's going to make you feel resentful about personal development or whatever it may be, spiritual, religious, relationships, career, finances, like every area, every part of you, any truth that you you believe in or know to be, it's going to make it feel that bit harder, smaller, resentful, angry, lost and alone, broken, because it's so tricky. It's because we never fully complete it. But if you find the root cause, resolve it, and do the confirmations of what is good for you, what is happening, those qualities and values, that's when you'll start to change. Then add the affirmations. Like I said, they're good, but they can just be bad if they're used in the wrong way at the wrong time. So with that, my friends, I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode. Many thanks and goodbye.